Hey, what's up, SBT? Tyler here, bringing you the SBT roster analysis video. The admins and the mods. We have Mams.
What up?
We have Beater with us.
What's going on?
We have Witchard.
What's up?
And we have Swampy.
Nope.
To start this video, we're gonna go with the Rivals division. It's basically just gonna be a roster analysis on what we think the roster looks like, what to expect with the roster, which coaches we think are gonna be favorable, and which coaches we think are gonna come out on top of the divisions. No hard feelings to anyone, but we're just gonna go with what we think, and we're gonna have fun with it.
Yeah, and to Tyler's point, last season we did have that whole stream, which kind of dragged on for 4 hours. So this time we're gonna hopefully make it last a little bit shorter. And I'll have the graphics pulled up on the video for you guys, so you can see the entire roster, as well as our beautiful logos from Thunder, the GOAT himself. Alright guys, so to start off, we have our Rivals division, and looking at it right now, you guys might not know when this is posted, or it's probably been announced at this point. We have our newest Rivals coach entering into the division, and his name is Pinky Promise, also known as Dugan. So we hope everyone gives him a nice warm welcome into the division. We're looking forward to seeing how well he does throughout the season. We can go over the rest of the roster now if you guys are ready. We don't have to list it all, you guys can see it there. But what do you guys think so far as an entirety of this division?
It's definitely going to be a strong roster. Most of the coaches that got into Rivals had a few the off, so we know what they're capable of. They're definitely going to be tough to take down, and we have one of our long-standing coaches in Ballistic, who I personally think is my favorite to win the division. And Ballistic is definitely going to be tough to stop and one to watch.
I will say,
I'm with Tyler on that one. I think Ballistic's going to do pretty well.
Ballistic, so Swampy has Ballistic. I will also agree Ballistic is definitely a favorite going into this. Ganon as well, because Ganon really did a good job last season in Challengers. Basically everyone that didn't make playoffs last season in Challengers is in this new Rivals division, so I hope you guys don't feel personally attacked at all. But Ganon, Sai, Zach, Ballistic, returning coaches Wolf, Jake, also known as John Paul, they're all in there, and Daniel, I can't forget Daniel, my man, now our man.
Our man, now our man. True.
Looking like a good roster so far though, but yeah, it is pretty much from the lower half of Challengers from last season. Still a really good roster, and we've added some new I shouldn't say new challengers, but some new competition to the division. A lot of people I think know a few of these guys. I personally I can't say I know them all, but they have their rep holding up for them. What do you guys think? Peter, what do you think on some of the new coaches here?
Definitely. I was going to say earlier, I expect some of these new coaches to make some noise, because we're definitely pulling in some of our better coaches that were existing, but we've had a large influx of new coaches that wanted to try out. So we got a large influx in Rivals here, and expect some of them to make some noise. Looking at Exostomp, Ishii, and Max in particular to kind of make some noise and light up the division potentially. Even Lazy Louie and Shy could definitely make a run as well.
I was going to say Lazy Louie and Shy, because they all did pretty well in the off season as well.
You can't forget
I think they
JJ on
to
that.
Do really well in here.
JJ Koo, I think he was Wavali's partner, yeah. I think he made it pretty far as well. I'm not sure on his record, but he was partnered with Wavali, and we all know Wavali is a really good coach.
Yeah.
Some of the more friendly coaches, though, I know, like Leaf, everyone seems to like him personally. Max, some of our mods were promoting him up. And the rest of our coaches as well. I know HCK, he's been in WPF, so he's definitely a good coach as well. And Can't wait to see how he does in SBT. I believe he was in the PGP server as well. So definitely looks like an interesting roster. Any coach in particular that will make a run for playoffs, but not like, I know you guys said Ballistic already, because Ballistic is probably the long-standing coach in this division. Actually, I would say Ganon is. He must have been with us since season 4.
He's been with us a couple seasons. I also think Ashiku will probably make a pretty good run. He's a solid coach, and I think that down there in Rivals, he'll probably do some work.
Yeah. I want to expect
coach to keep track of is actually my bad. I'd say one coach to keep track of that's actually a returner is Zach. Zach had
I was gonna say the same thing.
Good showing, and watching him in some of his matches, he played some good matches, but I think a couple mistakes here and there turned what probably could have been like a 6-4 season into a 4-6 season.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to kind of keep an eye on him and see if maybe he fixes up some of those mistakes and he could possibly make a run pushing it like a 7-3 or 6-4.
I was going to agree with
Daniel
you
do
as well.
pretty good, to be honest.
Zach,
I've seen
sorry,
Daniel
Richard.
do pretty decent in other leagues recently, mostly Sunset Showdown. But so I think Daniel can pull off a good playoff run as well.
I'm expecting that from Daniel as well. I also want to expect Wolf to finally come into his zone. Like he was pretty. I think he was really close into making playoffs, the Challengers division. I think he went kind of like 50-50. I can't remember his record completely, but he's definitely improved over the last few seasons. I think Wolf's actually been around with us as long as Ganon has. I could be wrong on that, but definitely a coach I want to see him actually persevere. Sai, we know him as well for a long-standing point of SBT. I think he only joined season 5, but we've known him before that. A lot of really good coaches, and of course everyone was saying Ballistic might be the favorite here. It's definitely a toss-up though, because as good as Ballistic is, his first season here in Challengers, he went I think like 8-2 or 8-3 or something, and he got promoted. But entering in Guardians the following season, I think he was kind of falling off. So we have him rising back up again in Rivals, but definitely no pushover for sure. So I'd like to see how well he does this season. I think for me it's either it's threefold. It's Ganon, Zach, and Ballistic that are my favorites right now.
Definitely. I think if you were to ask me right now, I'd take Ballistic, Exostomp, and Ishii, but I can definitely see a lot of coaches in this division making some noise on the come up. And to the point about Ballistic's last season, it tells you just how important the draft itself is, because we know Ballistic is a talented coach, but he had a suspect draft last season that really caused him problems and had him in the demotion spot. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see what these teams draft.
I agree. He ended up beating, I think, the first seed in Guardians last season. But like, if you can only beat the first seed and not beat anyone else, it doesn't really help, your reps. So if he's able to grab like a good draft pick, or maybe just a decent draft for whatever spot he gets in, he might be making a showing. And I do agree with you. Exostomp seems like a really good coach as well. I personally don't know most of them, but I'm expecting a lot of good things. Hear a lot of good feedback from people that know these guys. So it's going to be interesting. Tyler, what are your thoughts here? Who do you think you want to see go far here?
It's going to be an interesting season for sure, but my clear favorite is definitely Ballistic, because I know what he's capable of. I've seen him perform in other leagues, and I know he's going to be a top contender right away. I actually am really looking forward to see Wolf, because he's been with us for 4 seasons now, I believe, and he's been getting better and better every single season. So this might be his playoff season to see how far he's gonna take it. I definitely feel like Ishiku can have a good run as well. But once again, Ballistic is my clear-cut favorite here.
I can see that. It also kind of depends on everyone's schedule. I know in the long term of things, someone's schedule being just a bit easier than some other coaches, it could have an impact on person's record. But in the long run, if you're not the best coach in the division, then you're not going to make playoffs. So, but it could be a factor for sure. So it depends. I like a lot of these coaches. I'm glad that they're joining us for this season. And Richard, you already said your favorites, right?
Yeah, mostly Ballistic, of course. I think Lazy Louis and Daniel are going to be the big surprises here, mostly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't underestimate those two.
I can't remember how many of these guys joined us for the off season, but I know that Shy, Lazy Louie, JJ, HDK, I believe that's it, right? Leaf didn't.
Ishiku also joined.
Sorry?
I believe Ishiku as well.
Was
He was
Ishiku
also in the
also in
off-season.
there?
Yeah, he was.
Okay. Yeah, so a lot of these returning coaches from the off season, I'm glad that they're joining us for the main season. It's definitely gonna be a good season from what I can see. But if we don't have any other words on rivals, we can potentially just move up to our challengers. What do you guys say?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yes.
All right, so Tyler, you want to introduce us into challengers, please?
All right, so looking at the challengers roster, we definitely have a lot of great competition. We have Mawile, who was a long-standing SBT coach, who was in the top divisions when he used to compete. It's definitely going to be one to watch. We have Hunter, who's coming back after a season off, who is also going to be a coach to watch and is probably going to perform very well, in my opinion. We have Cello, who's a very interesting coach because for some reason, I've seen him perform very well in other leagues. Can't seem to find the groove in SBT, but when he does, he's definitely going to be a dangerous coach to watch. We have Ghost, we have Ryan, we have Rozzy, we have John. We have a lot of potential in here, and it's definitely going to be a great season as well with Electric, Simple, a lot of the great every single coach can be a threat in this division is what I like.
I agree with that completely. I don't think there's any one coach. I mean, I haven't personally seen everyone perform. But I can say for sure, like every one of these coaches have definitely shown off how good they can be in this league. What do you have to say, guys? Beater?
Definitely agree. I think this division, more than any of the other ones, is one where I look at it and say, every single coach, I can see a realistic situation where they win the division. Because I can see a pathway to playoffs for every single coach on this list. And as we all kind of know, once you get to playoffs, anything can happen. So, like, there isn't a coach that I look at here and say, okay, winning the division is probably an unrealistic goal versus kind of some of these other ones. There's tiers as to kind of the level of realistic possibility winning is. Versus here, you can look at this division and really see, all right, you pick any of these coaches, and if I were to say they're going to win the league, you wouldn't really say no. So this is going to be a fun division to watch for sure to keep track of. And once we see these drafts and kind of getting into kind of the weeds with the drafts, it'll be interesting to see who goes for what and how the drafts break down, because that will be big in terms of who ends up coming on top.
In my opinion, I think for a certain portion, you can kind of see the scale, the level scale a little bit. I can kind of see who might be in the middle of the pack here. But at the same time, it that could just be speculation, because a lot of these coaches, if they are able to grab a really good draft, for example, Griff, I remember when he was in Guardians, I think season 5, he made that playoff run. He almost made it into playoffs, but his last week, he just unfortunately needed to forfeit, and that cost him being in playoffs. But he could have actually made that playoff run. Last season, unfortunately, in Guardians for him wasn't the best, but I know that he has the potential there. He's also a long-standing coach in SBT, one of the Season 1 veterans, and he definitely has the potential to move up to playoffs. Richard, who is your favorite looking into Challengers right now?
Okay. First of all, Challenges is stacked, to be honest. I like you said, I think everyone has a potential to make that playoffs run and get that championship here. I think Hunter, Ryan, let's say either Sacred or John. Those are, I think, the most intimidating. That's correct.
No, I can see what you're saying there for sure. Yeah. I think for me, when it comes to John, and again, John, he's been with us since season 5, I believe, and now he's modding again for us, which we're really welcoming of him. But John, last season in Challengers, he was in there, and had he continued his season, I'm pretty sure he would have made playoffs. John, definitely no pushover, and he's improved since his first season with us in season 5, I believe, when he was in Guardians. So look to see John maybe sit at the top for a couple of weeks. Swampy, what are your thoughts here? Actually, curious what you think on this division.
Well, I'm looking at Ryan. I'm looking at Rozzy. I think Paco is another one to watch because he did pretty well last season. Yeah, he did pretty well last season, so we'll be interested to see how he does this season.
Of course, Paco definitely one of the top. I remember he got like 2 consecutive 6-0s during the season. Definitely pushover.
I think he finished second last season in the standings.
I think he did go the second seed, and then unfortunately lost the first week of playoffs. But
speaking of which, there's one coach we haven't mentioned that I think I would actually probably put as one of the front runners here, which is it has to click for Rozzy eventually.
I was going to speak on Rozzy
twice. He's gotten to playoff twice and then been hacked out round 1 both times.
Yes.
So eventually it's got to click.
Rozzy is like he's like the I want to say like the David or Goliath of this division. I don't know what you can say about it, but he has always made playoffs for the past 2 seasons. Always has a good run. His showing in the season very spectacular, and his first week in playoffs is always just a huge cuck, and then he ends up falling back into next season, which he stays in Challengers. Rozzy, he was my favorite last season, actually, if I remember correctly, and he still unfortunately lost week 1. But joining Rozzy with him last season was Steph, and Steph actually made a good run as well. And I can't really put Steph on the back burner as well, because Steph and Rozzy, I think they're close to, if not on the same level. They definitely have some good matches whenever I see them, at least. But Paco, Steph, Rozzy, they all made a good playoff run last season, so I'm curious how it's going to go again this season.
Yeah, I think another one to watch too would be Electric.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Electric wasn't mentioned yet, but Electric is definitely going to be one of the top coaches to watch.
Yeah.
He's always been performing well everywhere, and I've heard nothing but good things. Unfortunately, he couldn't stay out of a relegation spot, but I'm sure he's going to be a threat this.
Yeah, that's not even his fault really for relegating. He joined in the end.
But
like the
if I honestly had to say, my favorite in this division is probably Mawile. I know him since he was a coach in the SBT before, and he's always been in the top divisions and performing well before he actually left Pokemon. And now that he's coming back, I definitely feel like he's going to be a threat in Challengers.
I'm gonna have to agree.
The only reason why I won't pick him is because I know that he hasn't played in a while. Because he said that he took like a year off or something.
Rusty for sure, yeah.
The
thing
is a big thing.
I think with Mawile and Rust, just to talk on that, after the first couple weeks, I think he'll get his mojo back. So it's not like the rust is going to stay on him for the entire season. I think he's going to try to push. But Mawile, I'm going to agree with Tyler, definitely my favorite for this season. It's unfair for me to say that when we have people like Hunter, and we have like Rozzy and Paco and Steph and all of them, but even Cello there as well, and John. Mawile still looking like my favorite. I agree with Tyler. He's been in SBT since season 2, always been in the top division, and I think he's going to make a really good push for playoffs.
Yeah. Well, if I remember right, when Mawile left SBT, he was in Conquerors, right?
He was, yeah.
Yeah, well, the equivalent of Conquerors.
Yeah, it was 8-8. Same thing.
Yeah,
But-
he actually saved himself from relegating that season too, but he still ended up leaving for his own reasons.
Yeah.
Long story short, anyone can win here.
Yeah,
So
we can make a good roster.
it's going to be a fun season of challengers.
I do want to mention. I do want to mention Delta. She's back for another season here as well, and we're glad that she can return. I know that she got promoted. I do want to speak on that for a little bit. Delta, she did get promoted. Unfortunately, it was on the tail end of the completing the season. So, and with our new shifting, obviously, it just made the most sense. So I hope she feels comfortable back in the challengers, especially with challengers being as newly stacked as it is. So she is definitely a coach to look out for as well. So I can't really, you can't really overlook her. And then we have Simpleton and Jacob, who we haven't spoken on yet. But
if I remember right about Delta, she took over for a coach last season.
She took over for John.
John.
Yeah. And then she made playoffs with what was the record that she took over for? It was
John had a good record.
I remember this. If I can just run through it, she took over. I think a 5-3 or a 4-3 team.
Yeah.
Made playoffs as the 7 seed, and then Haxed Rozzy as the 2 seeds. Ended up winning that match, or Haxed Paco or Rozzy, one of the two. So one of the things that I think, and this kind of a clarification point,
Paco, by the way,
the most sense. It made the most sense to bring both John and Delta back in challengers, as the two of them kind of used each other's legwork to promote together.
Yeah.
So it makes more sense. Bring them back down. They'll both have a full season to utilize their team, and then we can kind of filter from there.
I agree.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So so I hope she feels comfortable just being in this division again, and with John. What's funny is Sacred TD. He's also in this division, and he took over for Hunta in the last season, and now they're both in the same season as well. So it kind of feels like that Delta John relationship there. Replacements just being in the same division as each other. But we haven't spoken on Burger, and I'm really excited to have a tasty treat like him being into the division. So yeah, so Burger, I hope you feel welcome into challengers, and
he did decently well in the off season, if I remember right.
I do remember. Yeah, he was he did pretty well in the off season as well.
Yep.
Also,
I think they were
we
one
can't
spot
sleep
out
on
of the brackets phase.
He made it to the bracket phase, yeah.
We also can't sleep on Hunta.
No, yeah. We haven't spoken too much on Hunta, but everyone knows, Hunta's been with us since season 1. He's a veteran coach, and he always does well.
Watch our past coach reveals if you want our details on Hunta.
Exactly, yeah. Yep. Probably linked in the description, we don't know. Hunta, definitely a good coach. He's been in the top division a couple times, I believe. I think he's been in the equivalent of what Conquerors was for a couple seasons, and he's been in Victors a couple times, or the equivalent at least. He was in Guardians last season, and of course he took a break off, so he's back here in Challenges, and a really strong coach at that. So I'm actually really looking forward to whenever Mawile and Hunta go off, because that should be an interesting match for sure.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So that might wrap up our Challengers division. Do we want to move up to Guardians now?
Yes, we do.
Peter, do you want to introduce this one?
Yes, I do, and don't mind me as I'm putting on a jacket because I have cool here.
I dare you to pronounce the Dutch names of the teams.
No. So, Guardians this year looks quite different than it has in past years. We've got the coaches that promoted up in kind of Cammy and Tyler B, who both were extremely impressive in Challengers last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I expect they'll kind of be making some noise for themselves as well this season. Additionally, you have some newcomers. You look at likes of Stanny, of Shrek for Smash. You look at, well, Photon's not a newcomer, but he took over for a team mid-season last year.
Yeah.
So you're going to see some of these newer faces. They're going to try and make an impact as well. And of course, you have some of the people who demoted from what is now Victor's. I forgot the name for a minute. But you look at Nard, you look at Joel, you look at Rummy, even Gene, Juke as well. There's a lot of really, really good coaches that are now condensed into Guardians that probably could have been in Victor's, or I mean, Conk is probably a stretch, but definitely could have been Victor's potential. So it's going to be a very condensed and a very interesting Guardians division. Orlando's that Witcher guy. What about him?
Yeah, we can talk about
some dudes. I don't know.
But if you've noticed, actually, there's only 2 returning coaches from Guardians last season. That being Swampy and X-Gamer, who Swampy we also have on this call. Swampy, I know this is a bit biased, and Richard as well, but what are your thoughts on how Guardians looks this season?
Looking at it, I think it looks, there's a few new faces on here that I'm not too familiar with, but looking at Gene, Rummy, Juke, Witcher, X-Gamer, Nard, like a lot of these guys are pretty good, so it's looking pretty stacked on my end.
I agree completely. A lot of these coaches that should probably have been in Victor's also can our Guardians is just looking too strong. Probably it looks like a Victor's 2.0 in my opinion.
It looks like an ESO W for me.
Okay, here we go. This man wins off season. All of a sudden, he starts wilding. Okay,
So
but
we haven't actually touched on the fact that George won Challengers last season, and he is in Guardians this season as well. He's been in Guardians before, I think in season 5, but in season 6 is when he really showed what he's capable of, winning the entire division. Granted, he had Dragapult, so we can't really say too much on that. Like any team that has Dragapult kind of just runs through the other.
That is a help. But he did play very well, like even with some of his other mods.
Yes,
so he definitely deserves a shout out.
I think Mega Diancie was actually his MVP, but I could be wrong.
He had Mega Diancie and Dragapult, so let's just take that in.
What we do? Hold on, wait. I feel like we just ran over that part of the sentence. How? How did that happen? What did I miss? How did you get Polt and Mega Diancie on this team? What was going on down in Challengers last year?
Well, his team was actually pretty broken. He had Infernape, he had Mega Diancie, he had what else did he have? Like he had a lot of really good. That's probably one of the good points of George, though, is that he drafts some really strong teams. So look out for George during the draft as well. That draft phase, if you don't expect it from George, he'll definitely come up with a good draft, and that might help him out actually making it to playoffs this season. So I don't know.
Another coach that hasn't been mentioned yet, which is personally my favorite to win the division, is probably Keith. I've seen Keith go around and perform extremely well enough.
Keith Sheldon,
along with all the other coaches that are already in the division that are extremely strong, like Spee, I know is capable of doing a good run. Gene is capable of doing a good run. X-Gamer is definitely going to be strong. Leonard is going to be strong. Like, a lot of these coaches are like immediate threats and are going to be extremely interesting to watch this season. And I literally don't know what to expect, but if I had to pick one, I would say Keith is probably my favorite for this season.
I think a lot of these coaches here, they have a championship either in here or like somewhere else. Like, I know Richard, you have a championship in our first league that we've ever done.
I don't want to talk
about it. And
I don't want to talk about it.
And Cammy, he runs the EGA, and I've been seeing a lot of good plays from him, especially from last season. He almost had a near perfect run, only losing to George, which is pretty funny, and they're both in this division right now. Tyler B, he's been with us and one of our mods for a long while, so I expect good things from him. He's definitely improved over the last couple of seasons. And I'm really expecting a good draft from him. He always ends up getting some pretty broken teams. Shrek for Smash, I've heard a lot from him.
I've seen him around.
Yeah, WPF, if I remember correctly, he's pretty active in there. And we got some Coliseum people as well. We got Joel. Joel's in there as well, and he's pretty decent as well. He was in Victor's the previous season. I know that he replaced, but this time he actually gets a chance to draft his own team, so he might make a good run.
Same goes for Photon as well.
Photon as well, yeah. Photon definitely a threat. A lot of people were looking at him and seeing some some successful activity from him. So Rummy, I know that he is one of our Victor's veterans. The only division he's ever been in is Victor's, barring the first season that he joined and replaced being in Conquerors. But Rummy finally moving down to Guardians, I feel like he will definitely have a good run this season. I can't wait to see that. We can't even ignore like Gene, like we said, Witchard, all these guys. I think it's going to be a good season in Guardians, looking like a really stacked division. I can't really ask Witchard and Swampy right here, but Beater, did you already point out who's your favorite, do you think, for Guardians?
There's a lot of good options to pick from in terms of the Guardians coaches. I would say it's going to be either a newcomer or one of the demotes. I would put my money on either Stanny, Photon, or someone we actually haven't talked about, which is Juke. One thing to keep in mind about his Juke is he barely demoted after taking over a team from Conquerors 2 seasons ago, and I believe he barely demoted last season in Victors. So yeah. I would expect a strong bounce back season from Juke, and him, Photon, and Stanny would probably be my 3 favorites.
How are you not going to vouch from your off-season partner? Shaking my head.
I'm going to actually touch on...
I didn't say you were going to fail or anything.
I'm going to touch on what you said, Peter, with Juke. Is that Juke is also a long-time veteran in SBT. He joined Season 1. He's been brawling with the big boys ever since then. He took at least 1 season break, I believe, and then he replaced back into Conquerors. But he's always been in Conquerors or Victors. Now suddenly joining into Guardians, I feel like he might have a decent run this season. I know that the entire season division is stacked, but he's been in the top divisions the entire way through SBT. He's only now joining into Guardians, and it's going to be interesting to see how he does, how he plays, because his drafts are always interesting, but they're not always the strongest, in my opinion.
It's to your point. It is worth noting that this version of Guardians is quite interesting because many of these coaches, this is the lowest they have ever been, and I'm talking about some of the long-standing coaches.
Yeah.
You look at Gene, you look at Juke, and even though I just shit on you look at Witchard. These are all coaches that were these were all coaches that were competing in A League a season 2 ago.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's going to be these are not coaches you're going to sleep on. These are going to be coaches that are going to make pushes for playoffs and make life very difficult. Probably one of them even pulling out the end overall ship in the division. So definitely, it's not like
it's really
this is no cakewalk division.
You can say a lot of that for like Swampy and Witcher too. Like they've been in the top divisions as well, right? And now they're suddenly back down to here. And I think Guardians is just it's just like a shadow of what Conquerors used to be, and it's still a really stacked division, especially with these newcomers. I don't know what to expect with placing them into our main SBT leaguers here, but it'll be interesting for sure to see how it plays out.
With that, do you guys want to move on up to Victors?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, the first thing I see is I see Zombie, I see Stumbles, and I see Grion, and I see Revalley, and I see 4 contenders right there.
Let's not forget Techno, Ampha, Miles as well.
Yeah, there's
the person who won the overall championship 2 seasons ago.
First of all,
just chilled in this division.
first of all, you can look at any single one of these coaches and then say, oh, that's a champion right there. That's a contender right there. So I don't think like even pointing out a couple of coaches, it's doesn't say as much as like if you look at this entire division, not a single one of these coaches. I know like most of them, they've already earned a championship elsewhere, or they've already been in Conquerors, or they've proven themselves like in last season at least. I personally, I don't think I even have a favorite here. They're all extremely strong coaches. Another reason, but like Conquerors, they could have easily been in Conquerors, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I'm looking at this entire roster now, and I don't see like a definitive like weak link in the division whatsoever. Like
when I look at it, like a lot of these coaches, they have commitments to their own leagues as well. Like I know Zombie has his own league, Star has his own league starting up, Aaron the Baron, Miles, Techno. Most of these coaches actually have their own league, and they perform very well in a lot of competitions, tour drafts. I've heard a lot of Hydra, and I've seen Shy Guy perform. Lux.
Well, one person we haven't touched on yet is Slick Panther, and I've seen him around. In fact, I just played him in another league. Mm-hmm. And he smashed me.
Slick, definitely a good coach as well. Returning coach from Conquerors last season as well.
I replaced last season in Conquerors.
Yeah, Victor, like, I feel like half of Victors can definitely play in Conquerors and hold their own, so it's definitely a stacked division, and it's going to be interesting to watch. Mm-hmm. But if I had to give my personal favorites, I would probably have to say that Hydra is going to take it. And I know that GCS is definitely going to have a good run. Stumbles is definitely going to be a coach to watch. Slick is definitely going to give them a run for their money. Like it's a very interesting decision, and I feel like every single coach can perform well and make playoffs.
It's tough to even mention not mentioning Wood Valley, like Miles. I've seen Shy Guy and GCS, like you said. Mm-hmm. Like Zombie already has rep with us like from season 3, and he always makes the top in each division he's in. Just the one-off when he was in Conquerors last season, but still, just looking at the entire roster is just insanely good. Gry, he's been with us since season 4, I believe. Bounced back between the Guardians and Victors. Definitely no slouch as well. And Jay as well is a returning coach from last season, although he replaced. So hopefully he gets to draft his own team this season and make a run for it.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think Wood Valley is going to be an interesting one to watch. I mean, he made a pretty impressive run last season at Guardians. So. Yeah.
As long as you don't give him Mega Galade again. If anyone is listening, please just don't give him Mega Galade.
He had about 5 billion kills.
Don't do that. He carried Mega Galade to the top overall kill leaders on his own.
I didn't even mention Rin, but he is also a returning coach, and he took a break for the previous season, but he was in Victor's with us, for since season. Sorry.
Guardians last season.
He played last season because I built a lot of his teams.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. No snitch.
I'm still really convinced.
Wow,
like
calling the man out.
Rin coming back last season, and basically, I think he was second seed or first seed. I think he was first seed actually, and he still like that was him coming out of retirement basically, and he ended up making first seed. So just a very impressive run from him, and I'm curious how he's gonna do in this division here, with it being as stacked as it is.
It is worth noting there are 2 coaches that we haven't touched on that I would put probably upper echelon of the B division or the Victors coaches, which is we haven't talked about Ampha, who was I believe the third seed last season and lost in playoffs, but haven't touched on him, and we haven't touched on Lux either. who,
Lux,
from
yeah.
personal experience, I can tell you, is one of the upper echelon coaches in the division. So
yes.
it's also like it'll be a very interesting division because not only do you have an influx of a lot of good new coaches and an influx of a lot of promoting coaches who can definitely come in and make some noise, but even when we look at some of the demotes, you have Jay, who took over what was a struggling team.
Mm-hmm.
You have Star, who I think kind of team construction let him down early, and then it was just too big a hole to get out of. And you have Stumbles and Zombie, who Stumbles, I would say, had one of, if not the most unlucky seasons I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's,
if not for the fact that Zombie had an unluckier one.
Those two had some unfortunate events. I believe there were a lot of hurricane misses. Stuff that we should.
I mean, we can pretty much cap off Stumble's season with that Piranha game where he literally 5 Nature's Madness and Super Fangs, and like that was pretty much his season in a nutshell.
Stumbles landed 4 attacks all season, and Zombie landed 3 hurricanes.
Yeah.
So fun.
That was. Hey, Zombie got an ancient power boost against me with a Mammoth Swine, so he's
maybe
like,
this season he should run like wide lens or something to help his chances.
Or just run mono Snom, because his Snom was 1-0.
Snom was definitely
the
strongest goat.
I think we banned Snom, so he's done a lot there.
He still has like
he's demoting then. I'm sorry.
But Zombie for sure like always drafts some really strong cores, so I'm expecting him. I think, in my opinion, I really want to place Zombie as one of my favorites for this season, among all the rest of these coaches, which are just insane in themselves. But Zombie, I kind of place him up there really high.
Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah,
I think if you ask me, it's probably, if I had to pick a top 3, I'd say Zombie, Hydra, and I'm gonna go off the board and take Ampha.
Ampha for sure. I think Ampha was my favorite for last season, but I think he, like, certain weeks he was dropping off, and there was unfortunate events. But I don't think we even mentioned, but like Miles has improved immensely from the first season that he joined us into like one of his unfortunate seasons with us as well. But Miles, I think he was number 1 a lot of the time throughout the season.
Number 1 for like half the league, and then he got hacked out of the number 1 spot.
Yeah, he dropped
to
I think 2 losses in the last 2 weeks, and him down to the 2nd spot. And then Raven beat him in playoffs, round 1.
Another coach that has improved immensely since he's been here is Star.
Star as well.
Star.
Yeah.
The two of the Miles and Star, they've shown how well they can play with the big boys. Star was even in Conqueror's last season, and of course Star has he has a lot of priorities, but the one thing that he takes really seriously is his battling skills, especially in SBT. So I'm really curious to see how he does this season. He rebranded again, which his logo looks pretty flames, but.
I love the Monsters University team. Let's go. That's just big time scout, yeah.
Okay. So Tyler's partner, Shy Guy. Tyler, what do you think on Shy Guy being in this division here?
Shy is definitely going to be an interesting coach to watch. He is definitely going to be a threat, and he is going to give every single coach a run for their money. I know he can perform well. I've seen him play in other leagues, and I played with him in the off season recently, and I know he can hold. I know for a fact that he can hold his own, as he helped me with a few of the weeks, and we had a really good time playing together. So I definitely think that Shy is going to be one of the top coaches in the division.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's looking as stacked as it is. I can't even say who's going to be at the top, but Shy, I know he's going to make a good run for this season as well. It's really tough. I feel like this season in Victors is just insanely good. I can't wait. Like I want to start the draft right now, as much as we probably shouldn't. But yeah,
here comes the SDN spam.
Yep.
Let's not do the SDN.
Okay, so let's move up, guys.
Our draft never.
We've talked about victors extensively. Let's move up to our final division in Conquerors, where we have all these shitters. So let's start talking about them.
That is,
I mean, it is probably the worst division. I don't know.
Yeah.
We should probably just cut this one out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can cut this
There is nothing to
entire
talk about
division out
here.
if you want. I'll introduce this one, guys. Conquerors division. One of the strongest we've ever seen from the past seasons. I think this definitely makes a benchmark for what SBT Conquerors has become. Just looking at every single one of these coaches, I know they all have extremely credible rep, and I can't even say
And then
for
there's
sure.
Peter.
And then there's and then there's me,
Excuse
and then
me?
there's
Don't act like there's not that TCK guy in the corner.
there's
Yeah,
TCK as
yeah.
well, which
Yeah,
we
that's
all know.
There's also this Mems guy.
Yeah.
We don't even
pretty
talk
hung
about him. We
player.
don't even want to talk about him.
Hacks his way to a championship, etc.
I mean, that's the only way, right? I literally went out of my way to run Thunder Wave on every single one of my Pokemon so that I could win. So here's saying, like,
That's the way to go.
the yellow color wins the game. You can't even cap.
No lies told.
Looking at this division, I gotta go with Mams. As one of the favorites, obviously, since he won last season. But I also see Toxic, PZZ, Cheese. Of course, you can never count out Eagle, man. Eagle is he always
Eagle's
has very interesting
coach.
drafts, but he makes them work somehow.
He's an interesting coach, and he made finals last season too, so he could have easily have won the entire thing. But whenever Eagle, I've noticed Eagle. I played Eagle for 2 years now, and I've come to the conclusion, like, Eagle is just insane. Like, he drafts like the most craziest teams and somehow makes them work, and then ends up winning the entire thing. And we're all just like, how the hell did we miss out on this guy? And he has 2 championships, so I guess he's doing something right?
Yep.
Yep.
And then
Also made finals like 4 times.
yeah, you can't even count him out. There's just too much to talk about when it comes to Conquerors, and we've added some really strong competition in Beardy, Almighty Beardy. We have Ishan and we have Big Daddy Dave, which I'm really looking forward to seeing him perform in Conquerors this season. And our promotes this from last season, we have Pierre, Riss, who I'm excited to finally play in this season, and then we have PZZ, and we have Raven as well. So all of them are going to be really strong coaches. Sky made a good run as well as Toxic last season in playoffs, and both of them are really strong coaches to look out for. Simi always does well. Simi, I believe, Simi and Sky, they've always made playoffs in SBT.
And they've always been like in either Conquerors or Victors. Like they've never really demoted.
Well, the thing is, Simi and Sky have never been in Victors. Because we double promoted them their first season after they finished.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were the 2 double promotes.
I forgot about that.
And they've never dropped since. So that's just a testament for how good they've been. And we have like Beater and with Zane, they made playoffs last season as well. Cheese was really close, as well as Tyler. It's just the entire division looks really tough. I don't think a single match, you can't really drop a single match if you're going into this season. You have to kind of be headstrong.
What do you guys think about Big Daddy Dave? Because I don't know too much about him, but
Did he go undefeated in the off season?
He did, yeah.
Yes, we have been graced with the large father himself, and we can only expect good things from Dave. He's definitely a very good coach, huge reputation. Just have to see if he can uphold it. He went undefeated in the off season, like you guys said. I really look forward to finally getting to play him. But like, I look at every single coach in this division, and I am scared. I'm gonna give a last farewell before I demote the victors and shit the bed for one last season in Conquerors.
Let's say, what do you mean? You're going down the right road.
I'm pretty close to piecing out as well because I don't think I can keep up with this group of coaches. Although I said that last season and somehow ended up winning the whole thing, but I'm gonna look forward to
9-1 wins the league.
I'm gonna look forward to how well these coaches perform as well. I think Conquerors is the only division that hasn't really changed much from last season. It still has 9 returning coaches, and then we've added 3 new ones, and then obviously 4 promoting. So it looks a lot like last season did, but at the same time, it's grown immensely, and as well as like the coaches themselves. I think they're huge threats. Toxic was very scary last season. He could have easily have won the whole thing. Sky had a really strong team. I believe he was number 1 ranked in power rankings, and he went all the way to semis. I think I just got really lucky against him, but he's definitely a good coach as well.
This guy's one of those coaches who's always hanging around the playoff hunt, whether he's in it or on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
You always are sitting there week 9 and 10 with Sky just 1 win away from getting in.
Sky
and then causes havoc.
So
it's like
Sky,
the 6th seed.
For the last couple seasons, Sky has always been like right on the edge of earning that championship. I believe his first season he lost his championship to Gene, I think. And then the next season, was it when he faced off against Techno, and then Techno just grabbed that win from him. And then last season, he lost in semis. But Sky he's been thirsting for this championship for a while now. So I can only imagine how well he's going to perform this season.
Yeah. I don't want to count out our boy Yo Pierre. Want to come out here? Because this man got John to PDP.
This man knows how to play the game.
To the finals.
This man knows how to play the game in
5 games, and
way.
He was one of the best coaches in there.
I've never seen someone get so many forfeit wins before, and I think we have to watch out for Pierre because there's definitely some head games that he goes on with. Like, we might end up just all forfeiting to him.
He's the master of scheduling.
It's his tactical Johnny.
He's a tactical joiner.
Tactical Johnny.
But no, one thing that I would say about this division, and probably close it off, is I think back to season 5 of SBT, which was that weird season in the top division where there was, I think, 2 games separating the 2nd seed from the demoting seeds.
Wow.
It looks like this is lining up to be another one of those years where the difference between getting a playoff bye and demoting is going to be 2 wins, possibly, maybe 3.
Probably based on differential.
So tight.
It's going to be based on differential for
Exactly.
sure.
It's going to be super, super tight at the top of the division. You're going to see seeds and playoff spots and demotions even shifting around all the way up until week 10. You're going to think you're safe until week 9. The next thing you know, one wrong move and you're stuck in the 13th seed if you were chilling 6th.
If you even lose 1 game, it's detrimental for your entire season.
Yeah. So this is going to be a fun division to keep track of because it's going to be tight and you're going to see a lot of shifting places throughout the season.
I know
of course, that assumes that no one gets a super broken draft.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we've made it so that no one can.
The others draft a broken draft, easy.
So I know we're closing off the video, guys, and we're going to be hoping everyone has a good season, not just the people that we mentioned. But before we do, I know Swampy mentioned his favorite going into it. So, Richard, what do you think on Conquerors? Who do you expect to make playoffs? Who do you expect to win it all?
Well, I'm going, of course, to say Barnett because he was our last season champion. Yeah, so I'm putting the pressure on you.
Yeah, it's pressure for sure.
I also think that Skyquake, that champion run this time, he's really itching to force it every season. So I think now is the perfect time for him to get it.
I agree.
And the last one, I would say Toxic. Toxic has never played a bad game, I feel.
Mhm.
He could very well take it. I would not be surprised.
Toxic is a really interesting coach because he constantly plays in high level tournaments, leagues, and he's always surrounding himself with some really high level coaches. And it makes it really hard going up against him because he has that experience and he knows like how this game is played basically. That's what really separates a coach, in Conquerors from a coach in our lower divisions. Is just the experience, the constant, the constant game that you play against some high level coaches.
Yeah, I had the unfortunate experience of going up against him in off season, and that ended badly.
It gave us the best game ever in this entire league.
It just shows.
Oh yeah, the old one-turn match.
The old Gene versus Itchy Boy the Boy.
Gene, yeah, it wasn't it. Yeah, he faced off against Itzia, so it's still the same thing. Like they were partners in the off season, but definitely like you said, Swampy. Like he's no pushover for sure.
No, it just speaks to the levels of skill level there are. Like, and Toxic is definitely up there for sure.
I'm gonna say.
Also, found out Raven.
Well, I mean Raven, yeah. Like you can't.
Raven just stalls you out, and you can't do anything about it.
You speak about pressure, and I immediately think about Raven because he just drafts like Suicune, Corviknight. He's just he's one of those coaches you can't underestimate because he will stall you out. And
6 leopard berry bonds, and you're good, maybe.
Yeah, I mean just draft Taunt. Like that's my strategy at least.
Yeah.
The old Encore special.
So, I think with that, Tyler, do you have any last words on Conquerors?
Not particularly. I look at this roster and I can't really say I have a favorite because I know that every coach can go the distance apart from myself, probably.
I think you're gonna win it all. I think it's your season. I think
Mams is juicing.
Yeah, you've conditioned all of us to think that you're like the weakest link here, but I think you're gonna go all the way.
You used up all your juice to not choke PGP, so we'll see if you have any more left in the tank.
So I think that's gonna round out our entire analysis, right, guys? I know that we went a little bit longer than we mentioned, which surprise.
Well, when we're covering 80 coaches, it's
when you cover 80 coaches, it's kind of hard to make it into a 30-minute video. But that's definitely going to round it out, and we're going to complete it here. We thank you all for taking the time to watch this very long video. Thank you guys again, and stay tuned for the start of the draft. We're definitely going to have some power rankings later on. That might be like in the following week or so. So watch out for those. And
no, it won't be a 5-year-long stream.
Yeah. All right, this is us signing off, guys. Peace out.